I can't. I can see speakers. I can see gallery. I can't see everyone who's, I guess Kecia's gonna have to give some kind of indication when she's in because some of the names that there's Kecia right there. Got it. Got it. We got her in. So we can unmute Kecia.
Yep. One moment. I don't have audio yet, so I'm gonna give it just a bit.
There's Kecia.
Yep. And I'm asking to unmute.
Good morning.
Good
All
morning. I
right.
apologize for that. Zoom had to have me install.
So
That's
we'll
okay.
get one formality out of the way, Kecia. Are you fine with being recorded? We already started recording. The other candidates had agreed. Are you fine with that?
Yes, I am okay.
Good deal.
We're not sure how it'll be disseminated afterwards yet. We'll talk about. I said that's a future Jenny and Sean problem. The intention is that all four candidates will be left unmuted unless there's a crosstalk problem or egregious overrun of time.
Okay.
Jenny will mostly be running all the talking. I'll mostly be running the tech stuff.
Mhm.
Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. I'll let Jenny take over.
Yeah. Thanks. And Sean, will you just take over admitting from the waiting room too?
Yep, you
Thank
got it.
you so much. Hello and good morning. I'm Jenny Ginter-Light. Thanks for showing up. I lived in Platteville for just shy of 25 years and had one child graduate from the district last year, and I have one currently in the district. I reached out to Sean to help me today because he's an IT guru. We also have similarly aged kids. So girls graduated at the same time and boys in the same grade. So I want to thank you for attending this virtual listening session with the Platteville School District School Board members, or candidates, I should say. This event is anticipated to last 90 minutes. And just fully transparent here, Sean and I are just volunteers who decided to get this going. So we're going to run through some guidelines. These were also distributed when we initially decided to move forward with this. So attendees will be provided with the opportunity to ask questions. That's going to be in the Q&A feature, which is on Zoom. Those Q&As will come through at the end of introductions and the questions that we ask candidates. So not all questions will be asked due to time limitations. And when we do go through that Q&A portion, candidates will be given 1 minute to respond. Sean's going to be watching that stopwatch. If your question during that Q&A format is directed specifically at a candidate, you should put that in your question. All attendees are being asked to be respectful, refrain from name calling, and avoid partisan politics since this is a nonpartisan election. This will be strictly enforced. And then the moderators, and that's mainly Sean, has the responsibility to interrupt the proceedings if anything gets out of hand. He just has all of that IT background to know how to mute. And then guidelines for the candidates, if you don't mind me kind of getting down here to my notes. Each candidate will be asked to give an opening statement after these guidelines are asked. We'll go in alphabetical order. Sean is here to do the timekeeping. After the introductions, we'll ask 2 questions of each candidate, and we distributed what those questions would be. Crosstalk is not allowed. And then to preserve a nonpartisan theme, just no campaign banners, signs, anything like that. I don't think we're having any issues with that. And then we also encouraged everyone to arrive 15 minutes before, so we did not have any technical issues. And I'm glad we could all make it here. So now I'm going to just kind of go through and see who's here. So I have my alphabetical order. Grossman would be first, then Kecia, then Linda, then Betsy. That's our alphabetical order by last name. So let's move forward with 2-minute introductions for each. All of our candidates are unmuted, and we start with Ben. Thanks, Ben.
Hi, I'm Ben Grossman. I've been on the board for 1 term, so I'm seeking re-election for my 2nd term, so 3 years on the board. I've lived here in Platteville full-time since around 2004, 2005. I originally came here to go to school. Just really liked this area. Ended up staying, met someone, got married, had kids. So now I have a 8th grader and a 4th grader. Been very involved in the school district prior to joining the board. Lots of volunteering in classrooms and coaching youth sports. just always kind of looked for a way to be part of this community and grow with this wonderful community. And when I decided to go for school board a few years ago, that just seemed like the next logical step in the way to donate my time back to the community.
And then we move alphabetically to Kecia. Hi, Kecia. Oh, she's still muted, Sean. I think you're gonna have to help me unmute her. Ooh. I think I got it, Kecia. Hold on.
I got it.
Got it. Thank you,
Sorry.
Kecia.
I'm so used to muting myself when I'm on because I get clumsy with when it comes to talking online. But here we go. My name is Kecia King, and I have been connected to this community since December 2017. I am a retired military veteran, having served 22 years with the United States Air Force. After retiring from active military duty, I moved to Platteville to join my husband and son, and our daughter followed shortly after. Although I'm what is considered a transplant to this city, I have had a chance to make long-term connections both inside our school district and within our community. Being involved in the school board is a natural inclination for me because as a parent, former teacher at Westview Elementary and resident, I am an advocate for and am invested in public education in our community. The mission of the Platteville School District embodies the very same goals I set to achieve as a lifelong educator. Whether teaching children or adults, learning should not stop when you leave the classroom. So my intention is to create lifelong learners of lovers of learning who are equipped with the knowledge and desire to make our world a better place. I am motivated by seeing our youth, both current and future generations, benefit from an exceptional school district. Platteville School District is my extended family. As I was welcomed into the school district, not only did I feel a sense of belonging, but I truly felt as though I was welcomed into a loving and supporting collective. I appreciate the school district for having an open mind to uncomfortable conversations, being mindful of our diverse lived experiences, and listening to our families. And as a school board member, I can offer the same open-mindedness to hear and accept other points of view that may be different from our own. There are discussions that we may not agree on. However, I am always dedicated to working together towards successful solutions. I am a proud member of the school board because I recognize that it takes our community to come together as a collective family to nurture and support our children. I'm proud to be an active member of our Platteville community, and I feel I have much to offer in making it stronger as a member of the school board. It will be my pleasure to continue to serve alongside other dedicated leaders in my community, and I sincerely appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, Kecia, and thanks for your service from all of us as well. Linda, I think that puts you alphabetically next.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Mulroy, and I'm the newbie to the group. I'm seeking election onto the school board, and my interest actually aligns with my values as it relates to public education and access. I hold 2 degrees in education. My undergrad is a comprehensive elementary education degree in special education in K-8, and my master's degree is in college student personnel. And my entire 38-year career has been dedicated to supporting public education. I've been a resident of Platteville since 1990, working on campus for that entire time. And what I can say about what I bring to the table related to skill set is in my job as Executive Director of Student Life and Development, I managed a multi-million-dollar budget during flush and challenging times. I was responsible for 12 residence life facilities and the staff therein. I oversaw design facets, et cetera, of several new builds and remodeling projects. I served as the Title IX coordinator, responsible for ensuring compliance to federal law. I represented UW-Platteville at the state level as a senior student affairs officer. I served on the emergency response team, managed several large crises, including COVID-19 and the 2014 tornado. I adjudicated numerous student conduct cases during that time. The other thing that I would say is that I have a personal investment in this position in that I have 2 adult daughters. Both of them went through the Platteville School District K-12, and their entire education has been in public education. My oldest daughter is in Ohio, and she has a master's degree. My youngest daughter is a doctor, and she is in her residency at Madison. And I have been an active and engaged parent throughout their entire education. I also support the teachers and staff in the school district and believe in best intentions. Certainly, we can do better. Always, we can do better. But if elected for the school board, I'm going to strive for accountability to the Platteville School District mission and the students and families that are served. I think it's important to recognize that every child deserves a welcoming, accessible, safe, and high quality education that's appropriate for them. So that's what I bring to the table.
Thanks, Linda. I appreciate that. Betsy, you're next.
My name is Betsy Ralph-Tollefson, and I'm asking for your vote for the Platteville School Board in the primary election. Asking for re-election as I'm finishing my first term of 3 years serving on the board. And I'm running because I value education, and I truly believe that our actions and behaviors should be aligned with our values. I really care about our Platteville schools, the students, our districts, our staff, and our families that we serve, making sure that our culture and environment is welcoming to everyone. I live in Platteville with my husband and our 2 kids. I have 1 student at New Wilkins and kindergarten, wild times. I love kindergarten. And then a 2nd grader at Westview. And I myself have had the pleasure of spending time in our Platteville School District. While I did not graduate from Platteville, I spent my formative years at New Wilkins, the formative elementary age, moved to Texas. And then when I had the opportunity to choose and pick where I got my further education and where I was going to live and start my family, I came back to Platteville. My grandparents were living here, and I went to UW Platteville, and then spent my entire career working for not-for-profit organizations serving vulnerable populations, as well as in education here in Southwest Wisconsin, currently working at Southwest Tech. So I also have the pleasure of teaching many Platteville graduates and Platteville students in the dual enrollment programs, and that then transfer on to Southwest Tech and UW Platteville. So again, I'm asking for your vote and to help us continue to grow this wonderful school district that we have. We know that education is one of the main connectors and predictors of future success, and we need invested individuals and families to continue to grow our school district, to grow our community, because strong schools equal strong communities.
Thank you, Betsy. Now that we've had introductions, we'd like to ask questions of each candidate. How did we arrive at these questions? I did a Google search, and there are all kinds of informational reading on how to put together a listening session. So I pulled questions from there. I've also sent those questions out so everyone has an idea of the types of things we'll be asking. I think what we're going to do is ask the questions of each candidate 2 at a time, not go round robin and then round robin again. 2 minutes for response. So we'll start alphabetically with Ben again. First question, Ben, is what is the status of academic achievement in our district? And then follow up to that. This is all part of that first question though. Sorry, it's 2 questions within one. What are the educational gaps or weaknesses?
Sorry, looking at my notes here. So our district overall has done very well. If you looked over the last couple of years, our achievement scores have been improving. In fact, the school is celebrating some very good achievement over the last couple of years. But it doesn't mean that we can just stop and wait. Like, we do need to continue to push and strive to grow and to give the best opportunity to all of our kids. So I really like the way that I've already been able to engage as a board member with the district on trying to be creative on bringing in new ideas, continuing to push the envelope on how we can drive everyone forwards. I think this district already does a great job, but we like to maintain the focus of not focusing just on the students that are in the lower percentile or the students that are in the upper percentile, but all of the students. We have to make sure everyone is moving forwards. So I've been really happy to see that in our district and have been proud to be able to continue to work with that and continue that growth. And as far as educational gaps or weaknesses goes, for me, I think we're hitting the core aspects of education really well. We're hitting the math, the science, and the reading very, very well. I would like to see some growth into some more life skills. We do have some good programs at the high school already that kind of develop people straight into labor force, into college, and different options there. But there are a few things that just basic things like typing isn't a class anymore. I've already talked and asked about trying to bring that back into our curriculum. They are adding this year into the curriculum a mandatory class on balancing your personal finances. It would be required to learn how to actually use a checkbook that no one actually uses anymore. But it is good. I mean, we are striving in the right direction. But I think that just making sure that we develop good, well-rounded students and people who are ready to move on to life.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. Second question for you. Why do you believe these important local school board elections should be void of partisan politics?
I don't think party politics should have any place in education. The education we provide to our students needs to be neutral. Really, we want everyone to feel safe. We want to feel everyone to be able to come in and speak openly, have honest conversations, especially within the board. We want to be able to have these honest conversations, and we don't want to have any prejudice that's based off of any bias because of the parties. So really, education is something here that it should unite all of us. We should all be happy to make sure that we are educating our youth. We shouldn't be divided by this. Like I said before, we really want to help provide an environment where everyone can grow, learn, and people come out as well-rounded individuals that are ready, especially as they're leaving high school, ready to make those next steps forward into their adult life.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. Alphabetically moving on to Kecia.
I'm here.
First question, Kecia, in your own words, describe the value of public education.
Oh my goodness, the value of public education. How do I describe that? There are so many words to describe the value of public education. It is critical. It is necessary. It is life learning. That is the value of education. My experience with the military and traveling around and having an opportunity to travel around and see education in other countries around the world gave me such a vast and wonderful experience to learn how other people do learn, bringing that back here to Platteville and bringing that back to our school district, I feel is important for me to be able to share. That love, I guess that's another word that I can describe. Education is a love of learning within our school district. I feel it's important that we all value education regardless of where, how that education is brought forth to any of our students. It's important for us to know about whether it's history about our town, history about other countries, history about other people. Because when we are now becoming global, citizens, we are not just staying in our only little small towns. We're going out to different places to work, outside of our little bubbles that we know. So I think it's very important for us to have that knowledge to be able to go forth and be successful in those places.
Thanks, Kecia. And second question, what in your background leads you to believe that you would be an effective school board member?
Ooh, my background. So I do have a master's degree in elementary education. I also have 22 years in the military, which incorporates leadership skills, conflict management, education, because of course I also had to train adults. I am also a mom. That's an essential experience that I feel that is something that, helps me to be compassionate and share empathy and care and support with some of the students as well. let me lead on to my experience as a teacher within the Platteville School District as well. So being inside and being what we consider in the trenches and working with the students or, and even the staff, faculty, administration, just gave me an inside look into the care that is given and also helped me to break down some of the biases about education that I had before. And I think that is important to do.
Thanks, Kecia. Linda, we move on to you alphabetically.
Okay.
Thank you. And so first question, Linda, what do you see as the board's roles and responsibilities?
Sure. So for me, obviously, I have a little bit of a learning curve in that I'm not currently on the board. But the way that I see the board is ensuring working with the mission of the district. So I think that we all need to use that as kind of the guiding light, the star that we ascribe to is making sure that we are following the mission of access and education for students. I see the board working with budget, fiscal responsibilities. I see the board working with contracts related to, whether it's food contracts or other kinds of contracts that happen. I see the board working with perhaps facilities, the different kinds of projects that have been happening at the schools. I know that there's a point when the board works with the student conduct. I don't think that's like an everyday thing. I think that there's a point when that happens. And I would say that the board is responsible for oversight related to meeting the educational missions and the academic standards that are set forth.
Thanks, Linda. And
Okay.
second question.
Sorry,
Sure, go ahead. Yep.
Working very closely in support of the administration and also the staff. Sorry.
That's okay. That's probably my fault. Second question, how would you engage the community to improve public schools in the district?
I think that's a great question, and I think it's a necessary kind of a responsibility. So things like this obviously help engage the public. One of my strengths is communication. I believe in having the hard conversations. I believe that we need to communicate with people who are invested and who are the people who have their children here, the families who have their children here and beyond their children here and beyond that. It's just also other members of the community. I think we need to be open to ideas, particularly in this really what I would call divisive time in our nation. I think we need to be open to listening and understanding, listening to understand, and trying to be sure to present an unbiased view because this is a nonpartisan position. I also think that being open to communication through email, through phone calls, et cetera, to hear what people's concerns are. I would look to doing public forums if that's appropriate. If there's some way that we can engage, continue to engage in this fashion, I think that that would be important too.
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome.
And Betsy, last alphabetically, what about the school district do you want to be different by the end of your term?
Continued growth. Our district has a phenomenal growth mindset where we are committed to making sure our students achieve 1 year of academic growth for that student by the end of a year. And I think that all of our activity, all of our behaviors need to go to support that. We need to support our faculty and staff to make sure that they've got the resources available to ensure our students can achieve that growth in a safe and inclusive environment. And so, that's everything, right? From making sure that our students have reliable transportation to get to school, making sure that they have food in their stomach so that they're able to learn, because we know that our learners can't learn when they're hungry, making sure that they've got qualified people in the classroom. So everything goes back to making sure that we're able to continue to see that growth. And I'm very proud that we have achieved that growth the last 3 years, and that we continue to be able to see that academic growth in our students.
Thanks, Betsy. And second question for you before we move on to Q&A. If you do have a question and you're in the audience, you can start entering those into Q&A now and we'll move through them. But Betsy, how does this board engage district staff and this is really important to me being in HR, how does the board engage district staff to ensure Platteville School District is an employer of choice?
We do it in a number of ways. One of them is engaging our staff and faculty in our PLC process, our professional learning communities, so that we're able to see that growth, right? We tend to like to join winning teams. And when we can see that win very publicly, I think that that's an important thing. We also engage staff in committee work. Our coming up with our district calendar. Every building had a team together to help come up with a calendar that worked best for them, and then they got together at the district level. We encourage participation with our families and our parent-teacher organizations, and then we've also have participated with a third-party organization called Engage Rocket to help gather empirical information from our staff and faculty as to, what and why about Platteville, so that we're able to develop best practices and make improvements on both the onboarding side and then throughout the course of people's career, and have started training our leadership staff with the information that they've gained with that. So our faculty are very engaged, and they are one of the things and staff that make Platteville so special.
Thanks, Betsy. All right, so questions from the audience. I think we'll go alphabetically again with about a minute for each candidate to respond. And I'm getting some questions in the chat. So starting with Ben.
Real quick, sorry to interrupt, Jenny. I also had one that came in as a message, and I'm not actually able to enter it into the Q&A. So I'm just go ahead with what we've got there. But maybe once we've seen how this is, I can just ask the question that was sent to me.
Sure.
Which is fine. If people are having trouble with the Q&A, that's fine, and I'm marking them down and copying them and pasting them myself. So
thank you.
Sorry for the interruption.
Sure. So first question, starting with Ben, where do you stand on banning books?
On banned books? I don't really believe in banning books at all. Some books may not be appropriate for all ages. So I think that the community members who brought some books forwards that they were concerned about was a great thing. I'm very happy that they felt that they could. I want everyone to feel that if they have a concern with the school, they are able to raise that to us. And then we went through the process of forming a subcommittee that was out of someone out of the community plus some people, no one from the board, but some people from the district, to go through and review those books, and we're waiting to hear what the recommendation is on all those topics. So if any of those books are not appropriate for the group, that age group, I understand that, and I think that then they should be removed from that library. But to ban a book, I think is too harsh of a term. But being selective on which libraries those are in is the better way to look at that.
Thanks, Ben. And then Kecia, same question. Where do you stand on banning books?
I kind of stand with Ben on that, where I do not agree with banning books. However, I do also agree with looking at the materials in the same way, figuring out whether or not it is appropriate, or if it is something that's beneficial for our students, regardless of the age. It may not be appropriate for elementary, and it may move up to middle. It may not be appropriate for middle. It may go up to high school, vice versa. It may not be appropriate for high school. It may be better fitted for a middle school audience. Banning books to me is just, I don't know, is not something that I would want to see. And I love that we do have a committee, and we did have a committee recently that actually looked at all perspective of the books, not just one, not just a perspective based off of the concerns and the reconsideration request that was brought by certain parents. I am happy that we also have a procedure in place where parents can come to us and say, hey, I don't feel that this is right. I am happy that the parents entrusted our committee to review the books, and I'm happy that our committees actually did a professional scholarly peer review and also looked at other experiences with these books as well. I trust them to make those choices as a board member. Yeah, but banning books is just not my thing.
Thanks, Kecia. Linda, same question. Where do you stand on banning books?
Yes, so I attended a couple of the meetings, even one of the 6:45 a.m. meetings, brutal, and learned more about this whole process. And what I can start by saying is that I understand both sides of the concerns that were brought forward. It was really interesting to hear people share their concerns, and it was interesting to hear the content of the meeting where they vetted those concerns. So I would actually look at it more as limiting access rather than banning books. And there were a couple things that I learned about. First was that there's systems in place, and trusting the staff who have the experience, the education to be able to select books for our libraries, I think is crucial. You know, they know a lot more about what's age appropriate for a student than I do. I'm also a parent, and I know that every student has different levels of readiness for a variety of topics. And so I think that the systems that are in place for parents to communicate with the appropriate staff about what their concerns are for their child, and to be able to say, I don't want my child to have that book, really is important. So I learned that. One of the things that I really appreciated too was the concept of the staff talking about mirror books. And mirror books are where somebody can see themselves through the characters. And I think that every child deserves to have mirror books in a school. Every child, whatever they bring to the table, deserves to have a mirror book. And then also window books where they can see other students, other people, and they can learn from that. So with all of that, my opinion is that I think that age appropriate books should only be going to the age level that they are intended for. I think that there are vetting systems through the literary world as well as through our school district. And I think that parents should engage actively when they feel that there's a book that's not appropriate for their child, and have the discussions with their child about why. So while I can understand both sides, I would say that I'm not for, if we're going to ask the question about banning books, I'm not for banning books. I am for limiting access and age appropriateness and student readiness. Those are the concepts that I would talk about.
Thanks. Thank you, Linda. And Betsy, same question.
Personally, I am not for banning books. I teach a variety of English classes at a collegiate level, and literature is something that I'm very passionate about. As a school board member, I appreciate and am always in favor of having policies in place. Like Ben and Kecia said, I appreciate that we have processes and encourage people that have questions to engage in their students' education and with the faculty and staff that we have. I think that we have done a great job as a district handling what could be a very challenging issue. But when we've got good policy in place, again, we're doing what's best for all students, not just for individual families. And I think that that's our mission and goal, is to serve all students and to engage in those policies that allow us to do so.
Great. I think Sean wants to ask a question. Sean, do you mind going round robin through them real quick too with your question?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as I can also turn off my alarm as I do it. All right, too many things. This question is about access to quality food. The statement is, we are an agricultural state, and it should be an ideal place like the Platteville School District to use food from our local farmers. I think it would cost less, far more beneficial to the community. We should be able to guarantee free breakfast and lunch for our students. So many of our kids do not have access to quality nutrition. What can be done to make something like this a reality? I think maybe I would also say is you would need to agree or disagree with the statement, but it's a question about food access and what your thoughts are, is I think the way we want to go. And if we'll just, you know what? I'm an anarchist. Can we go backwards? How about Betsy gets to go first this time, and we'll go reverse, because why not? So Betsy, you're up.
Is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I feel like food accessibility is a huge issue in our district when we've got 40% of our students that are considered socioeconomically disadvantaged. It is an area that, as a board and throughout the state, that we have advocated for to continue offering for free and reduced lunch to all students, breakfast and lunch, as was put into emergency place during COVID. I think that we absolutely should partner. I think that it's a matter of finding that need and the individuals that want to help, to connect. We saw this firsthand. One of the areas as we've started looking at budget reductions that unfortunately was going to be reduced was the fact that at our elementary campuses, we had provided funding to have snacks. If students, we always ask students, families to provide a snack if they're able. And the New Wilkins and Westview had been providing, had accessibility to some type of snack for our students. And it was one of the line items that was looking at being reduced. And through some thoughtful conversations with our leadership and our administrators, we started talking with the PTOs to see how we can partner with students, because what we also saw were teachers were paying for snacks out of pocket, and that's also something that we really don't want. And so if we're able to find community members that are interested and able in helping meet that need for our students, we should be doing everything in our possible, while also meeting our district food policies. There are different requirements at the state and federal levels that we're still going to have to be mindful of and follow. But if we're able to help meet those needs with community partners, I say, let's go. Also knowing that food safety and allergies are a huge issue, so we would have to be very mindful of that as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Betsy. Linda, if you're up next with the same idea.
Sure. So, what I would add to what Betsy said is certainly the mission and supporting our student population as it relates to meeting basic needs. Hungry kids can't learn. So I think that I agree with everything that Betsy said. And I would just add, I too am all about working with people locally. I imagine there are contract restrictions based on the kinds of people who come forward or the companies that come forward to provide food to the schools. But certainly I would hope there would be options and opportunities to contract locally. I think the socioeconomic issue is huge in our area. When you're talking about 40% of children, you have to meet that need. And you're talking about the mission of access and creating a welcoming and safe environment. It's crucial. So that's what I would add. Betsy did a great job answering that.
Thank you very much, Linda. Kecia, if you could speak on it.
Can you do me a favor and just pose that question one more time for me, please? I just want to make sure I have the right information.
Sure, I'll do my best. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but so basically, the statement is that we're an agricultural state, and it would seem that Platteville is an ideal place to maybe augment food from local farmers. It would cost less, be beneficial, and I, of course, had a timer go off. I apologize. It would cost less, be beneficial to our community. We should also be able to guarantee free breakfast and lunch to our students, is the statement, as many don't have access. What could be done to make something like this a reality? And then if you agree or disagree with portions of the statement, feel free. So basically talking about nutrition in the schools.
Okay, 100%. I do agree with that statement regarding reaching out to our local. I would just say open up the conversations with our farmers. That's number one. Have that conversation ever been had? Have we ever brought them into our schools to even see what our school lunches look like? Do they even know what happens when it comes, regarding snacks for our kids, and what type of nutritional policies and rules and guidelines that we have in place? Just like Betsy said, for some of our teachers are so compassionate for our students in the school. I was one of them that would always purchase snacks for my students that didn't have or had food scarcity that happened inside of their homes, and come to school looking for, that valued nutrition or that valued snack or within the school. So yes, I 100% think that opening up a conversation with our local farmers and even our local stores regarding how can we, provide either a better food set, more nutritional foods. I'm even going to think outside of the box for a moment. I remember when I in the military overseas in a different location. However, it was with a Department of Defense school. I had a friend of mine that was a teacher that actually showed his kids how to garden inside his classroom. Now, this is not something that I'm asking for. I'm requiring any teacher to do. However, if there are any, teachers within our school district, allowing them that autonomy or even that space within our school to be able to set up, something like that, because they always tell you you can give somebody a fish, but if you teach them, they have more. So teaching them what, what our farmers do, or even having some of our local farmers come inside with school and maybe even showing these kids, setting up a garden for them, growing that food and actually having them enjoy reaping the benefits of what they have grown. So, I mean, that's just something thinking outside of the box for those students. And that's just teaching agriculture, because we are agricultural city in this rural town. Now we're teaching that agricultural base all throughout our school district, not just at the high school level, if that makes sense.
Thank you very much. Ben, you're up.
I think everyone's hit this topic pretty well, but we are openly looking at a lot of different options also. I mean, everyone knows that we had a referendum out there that did not pass. And so we are in a tight financial spot. So we are looking at every option out there we can think of to reduce cost. And I mean, if finances weren't a thing, we would offer free lunch and breakfast for everyone. That's not even a question. That is something that we debated and tried to see if we could find the funding for when that was taken away by the federal government. It's something that we as a board did very much value and wanted to make sure we do. And I'm not sure that everyone knows, but we also provided meals during the summer and on weekends to families too. So those are things that we want to make sure, because it's just something, we shouldn't have hungry kids in our district. That's nothing that we want. So looking with local organizations, if there's groups out there who are able to offset some of that cost, that would be amazing. That'd be a great way for community to interact with the district and help out. I know there's actually quite a few groups out there who do it already. If you didn't know, we never turn a kid away from lunch. If their balance is in the negative, that does not matter. They get a meal every single day. At the end of the year, there is a couple groups who will come in and just level out the balances. So if you're interested in volunteering, helping out, that's something that people can do. Also, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of our teachers do buy snacks. I hate that the teachers, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about teacher compensation over the last year or so too. But honestly, I think that they're compensated fairly, but not in a way where they can just afford to buy the school supplies, buy the snacks for their classroom on a daily basis. That's asking way too much of them. So if someone wants to reach out to their teacher, the teachers know what kids need a little extra help where it could be useful, and donations to the classrooms is always very welcome and very helpful.
Thank you very much. Jenny, I think I'll turn it back over to you to go from our Q&A area.
Thank you. And thanks, Ben. An action item for the 30 or so people in the room today. Snacks are a wonderful giving strategy any time of year. Going to the Q&A questions, just kind of going through them randomly. One that popped up here, and I think we'll do reverse again to give Ben a break because he was going first there for a while, and that's got to be tough. First one in the door. So we're going to go reverse, which means we start with Betsy. What relationship do you envision between the school board and the PTOs?
Great question. I think it should be a healthy relationship, whether you've got parents, on our school board should be attending. I think again that it's a means of how we address need and making sure that we've got open lines of communication when we have needs in our district, and making sure that we are engaging the right people at the table, because we don't all have the same social circles and the same background knowledge. And so having that open line of communication and attending actively, whether you've got a student in that building or not, I think that it could get very overwhelming, because we can't always be everywhere at once and having all of those dates and knowledge. But I think that that there's definitely, could be room for improvement. I've attended, PTO for Neil Wilkins in Westview and volunteered when opportunities have come across my way, because I've got students in those buildings. And we've got, members of our board with students in other buildings that are present. And so also bringing that information back to our group, I think, is another beneficial way. And then, talking with the leadership, because our leadership staff, our building principals are very active in those groups as well, and are able to help bridge those lines. So I think that there should be a healthy relationship and plenty of communication and involvement between to help serve our students, because that's what we're here for.
Thanks, Betsy. So reverse puts us with Linda.
So I'm going to start with what Betsy just ended with, and that's in service of students and aligning as a team, I think is really important. Recognizing that we are trying to accomplish the same things for students. I think also being a visual person, or being out there with the PTO events and attending the meetings as appropriate, inviting discussion and opportunities for PTO to engage with the school board is appropriate and important. And I think, again, listening, communication, open lines is crucial. But I really think that as a school board member, you need to be at the events as you can, and you need to be supporting the school board and the PTO, and recognizing, again, the mission of what we're all trying to do to serve students. So that's what I would add.
Thank you. And reverse, now we go to Kecia.
Kind of hard to follow when everyone's saying the same thing you want to say as well. But I agree with Linda. I agree with Betsy. Yes, definitely more connection with our PTO, involvement with them, because our PTO is also a crucial part of our school being as successful as it is right now as well. A lot, all of the, the organized members within the PTO, the teachers that attend all of the PTO meetings, the parents that are also supportive, the families, and just making sure that we are all there for all of the families that may not be able to actually engage in some of those conversations, don't know how to engage in some of those conversations. I do feel that we can do a better at connecting with our PTO. I would love to do a better job at doing that. Thank you for bringing that up, because now that puts that on my mind to do so. Now that my son is no longer within the school district, it is easy for me to kind of not necessarily, I don't dismiss it. However, it's not one of those things that are right within my eyesight. But yeah, more connection, more involvement with our PTO, because our PTO is a crucial organization to our school district.
Go ahead there, Ben.
Sorry, it was for me.
I think alphabetically we moved to you. Yep, that's right.
And so I think the PTO is huge. It's where I started. I was very fortunate when my little ones were first getting into 4K and kindergarten, that I was able to volunteer my time a lot, especially during the day. So I was very, very active in there. I made a lot of great connections, and a lot of where I come to with the board with ideas and my views of how the schools are working currently comes out of the PTO. Also, interacting with the PTO, no one should ever be afraid to approach any one of the board members. And I think the more we interact with people, the more we become people, and less we become scary board members. And so, I mean, when I attend PTO meetings, it's often a joke of, oh, well, let's ask our resident board member this question. And that's great. And we need to have those open communications. For me, open communication lines is very, very important, and what I'd like to see. So continuing connections with the PTO. Also, the PTO it's a powerful force. It can do a lot of really good things for our school. And sometimes the PTO and the board might not realize they're both trying to achieve the same thing. So when we can make those communications and, the PTO is able to make donation towards, alternative seating. And then that's one less thing that the board is trying to figure out how we're going to fund. Small things like that make huge differences. And before you know it, you have something left over. So we're able to expand somewhere else or reintroduce a program that maybe we had to cut in the past.
Thank you, Ben. I'm going to go ahead and take one. And in the interests of, more anarchy, I think we'll start at number 2 alphabetically and go through back around to 1, going the regular way again, just to let some other people have some primacy. So I also this one's a little fraught because I'm going to ask it in kind of a 2-part. And it's a little bit of a put on the spot, and Kecia, you're going to be first. So I apologize if it's a mean thing to do, but are you aware of a current policy about ICE entering the school district, entering a school? If you're aware of the policy, if not, I hope everyone understands you had no idea this was going to be asked. And then where do you stand on that policy, or if there should be change to that policy, or if there isn't one, if there needs to be one. So if you could help us out.
Oh, you did throw that out, Michonne. That's okay. I accepted that. Yes, I asked for that too, right? So ICE in schools. I'm not detailed familiar on ICE in the schools in the sense that I can blurt out anything that's inside of that policy, because yes, that was put on the spot. So I didn't have any of my information with me right now. I do know that our school district has put out a fact sheet to our staff detailing what the procedures are with ICE inside of our schools. I do know that. And I would encourage anyone, if you are interested in knowing what those policies are, I need to reach out to see whether or not it is something that I can actually put out publicly, but I would encourage you to reach out either to the school admin or to our district admin as well. Regarding ICE coming into the schools, I am confident that our school district is still considered a safe space for any person that feels as if they may be susceptible to any type of ICE raids. I don't foresee that happening. However, I don't know. Yeah, that's a loaded one to answer. And what was the other part of that question, Sean?
It would just be if you had a view on what the policy should be in your personal opinion, regardless of, and again, without knowing exactly what the policy, I don't want to ask you to go against what the current policy is. So I don't know that that's a fair question. So I would rescind that question, given your previous response.
Okay.
But we'll move on, and I am trying to Google right now, so I'm trying to do 2 things. But I believe next is Linda. We'll
Can I
toss.
interject real fast, Sean?
Sure, absolutely, Ben. If you got information, that'd be great.
I do not know the policy offhand, but my wife working at the school did ask Jim whether or not that was public information. So if anyone wants to know, they can email the school and that information can be sent out. I don't have it in front of me. I didn't read it all the way through, but I have seen it at a glance.
Thank you for that, Ben. Linda, we'll cut back to you if you want to answer in.
Well, I'm going to do my best. So I think that, first of all, trying to put yourself in the place of the children who this would impact and who are already fearful of potentially family members being taken or being deported, along with adding that fear that it could potentially be them, I think is a really scary prospect. I would think it would be a significant disruption to our education. I believe that if the Platteville School District hasn't discussed this at great length, they should discuss this at great length, because I do think that this is happening in other areas of the country. I believe that ICE agents and government officials are prohibited from entering school buildings, but without permission. And I think that staff do have the ability to say that they cannot. However, you know, this is me just following the news. So I don't know how that directly applies to our school district. But what I would say is that we have to follow procedure. We have to follow policy. So development of a policy and development of procedures is crucial. And staying true to those policies and procedures is crucial. Again, I look at what the mission is of the district of providing a safe education. And I think that needs to drive decisions. That's what I would.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Betsy, I think
Yeah,
give you a chance now.
I can very confidently say, whether it's ICE or anybody else, we're not releasing children, minors, to anyone that is not a parent unless there's a legal warrant. Period. That's the policy. We do not release minors to people that are not are these minors' parents. And that's a safety, right? Like, it doesn't matter who it is. It, you know, unless there is a judicial warrant issued for that minor, not the adult, we're not releasing those children because their safety is our number one priority.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Out, Sean, can I reach out to that one more time?
Sure. I think that's fair.
I did find the information that was sent. And I do know that this information is public knowledge outside of any school. And I do know that there are legal boundaries. There's the verified warrant, that there are two different types of warrants. There's a judicial warrant and an administrative warrant. And from right now, what Betsy was saying, basically our school is complying with what that judicial, you know, if there is a judicial warrant, not the administrative warrant that comes out. So what Betsy is saying, that we're not just releasing, you know, kids and information on families unless there is an absolute judicial type warrant that is served to our school. But again, seeing our school as a safe space, yeah, and that's what I see.
Thank you very much for that information. Yeah, I realized, I'm like, I think it was an email, and I started doing that, and I think we hit it about the same time I was about to interject. So thank you. You did it for me. Ben, I know you talked a little bit again. Do you want more time on it, or do you feel like this has been covered?
It's been covered pretty well, but obviously we want our schools to be a safe place, no matter what the issue is. It doesn't matter if it's ICE, if it's inter-school violence, if it's anything. It needs to be a safe place for education. And so we don't want ICE raiding our schools at all. Obviously we will comply with federal laws. If a warrant is served, we have to let them in. But we do everything we can to make sure those children are safe and protected. And like Betsy said, they're not just going to be released randomly to someone. They have to be a legal guardian, or it has to be you know, a warrant served.
Thank you very much. Jenny, I think I'll toss back to you for next question.
Yeah. So we said we'd go for 90 minutes and we have about 30 left. So we'll keep taking questions from the Q&A. I think this has been really beneficial so far. I like the discussion, especially as it relates to food and safety. So let me just kind of go through the Q&A and see what I got here. Sean likes to go all over the place and create anarchy. I like to stay very structured, type A. So I'm going to stay going in either alphabetical A to Z or Z to A. I don't know how his brain can take any other approach. So let's start at the top with Ben. Where do you stand on using pronouns preferred by the person you were speaking to or about?
That is their choice, and I'm going to respect it. I don't see why anyone should tell me what I can or cannot do as far as how I want to be addressed. I actually go into the school still quite a bit. I coach quite a bit, and I get Mr. Grossman all the time and tell the kids, sorry, it's Ben. I am not Mr. That's just my preference, and so that's the way I want it to be. I also don't feel that I should judge or tell anyone what their preference is or how they should be addressed.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. Kecia, alphabetically, that goes to you.
Yes, same as Ben. That is their prerogative for however that person wants to be addressed. I look at a pronoun as a nickname. I mean, we use nicknames all the time. Why can't we use pronouns in the same way? If it makes the child or the person, it could be a teacher. It doesn't matter to me. If it makes that person feel special, or if it makes them feel more comfortable to use a different pronoun from what we have addressed before, then so be it. I will use that. But yeah, again, yeah, just like Ben said, it is not for me to say, what a person decides to address themselves as. And if they have even trusted me to, to give me that information to say, hey, this is what I prefer to, to be called, I consider that a trust in me not judging, and, just creating a safe space for them.
Alphabetically, that moves to Linda.
Thank you. I view it as even beyond a preference. I believe it is who people are. I believe that people are who they are, and if their pronoun needs to match who they are. So I absolutely support the use of pronouns. I absolutely support calling people by how they identify. I believe I keep talking about safety and its inclusion and its belonging, and we want every child, not just the children who who identify as they are biologically born. We want every child to feel welcome, to feel safe, to feel included. And that's beyond just children, it's the staff too. If somebody says to me that this is my pronoun, this is my name, this is whatever, I'm going to do my very, very best to respect that.
Betsy, that puts you last.
Yep. I believe in the platinum rule of communication. It's not what I want, it's what they want. And communications is my background. I have a graduate and a master's degree, and language is fluid. Language constantly changes, and it is contextual, right? Based off of the environment and the individual, both the sender and the receiver. And, it's interesting how many people become experts in grammar when we talk about pronoun usage. And I would just like everyone to know that they and them are and have been used as singular pronouns in a singular form since Shakespeare. So.
Thank you, Betsy. I'm going to find another question here, and I think
Actually,
we'll go first. I'll
take one.
in. Yeah,
all right,
in.
I'll take one for you because now I just realized I'm like, well, Linda's never gotten answer first, and I want to give fair chances, and now that I know that it bothers you, I just really want to do it even more. So sorry, I hope a little humor is allowed. So this one is I'm gonna try to take it as best I can. How do you determine the distribution of the limited funds and the many things that need funding? I think this is a great question. I think we should go ahead and maybe just expect you're going to need about 2 minutes on this one. I know anytime it gets to money, it gets a little tougher. And Linda, you get to go first this time. I'll go through forward alphabetically, so Betsy will be next, and then back around to Ben and Kecia. So that's going to be the order for this one.
Okay, so I have extensive experience in budget allocation during flush times and during times when there simply hasn't been the money. As my role as Director of Residence Life, which is a component of Executive Director of Student Life and Development, you're charged with the number one thing is keeping your mission to the forefront. You have to be able to allocate funds in a way that doesn't impact student experience. That has to be the forefront. The challenge with that is, how do you do that? The way that I worked with my teams was thinking creatively and outside the box. I think we get caught up in, this is how a school budget should look. This is how we should act. We should distribute those funds, when it is perfectly fine to think outside the box and to also think about not only budget distribution, but is there a way that we can earn money? Is there a way that we can add to the budget rather than simply distribute it? So what I would say to that is, I would have a number of concrete examples of how I did that, but you have to keep the forefront on the student experience. When you're cutting services, you have to figure out impact to all students And in addition to that, figure out impact to marginalized students as well. So I guess the way I approach it is with creativity, thinking outside the box, looking at ways that you can cut something that has a lower impact to students. I love this idea of working with local farmers, et cetera. Is that a way for cost savings, or how does that impact? Does it help? Does it hurt? I would argue that it would certainly help. So that's just a little bit about what I would call basic budget allocation. And staffing is a really difficult challenge, because if you look at a budget, most funding goes towards staffing, quite honestly. At least it did in my budget. And so trying to figure out how to deal with that is really challenging when you're looking at an overarching budget. So
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. Betsy, give us the budget talk.
I think we start with what we're obligated to do, right? And that's provide access, and that's providing access for everyone. And so how do those services line up? And looking at what are required courses offerings are, especially when we get into the upper grade levels where there's more option. And so we have to start there and provide what we're legally obligated to provide to our students. And then it becomes, unfortunately, a lot of prioritization based off of student impact. Right, the number of students participating in activities, the reach of them, making sure again that we, like Linda said, we're mission forward, that we're meeting our mission, and providing that high quality education. And then what's the nice to do versus the need to do for our students. And those are difficult conversations. They are difficult because what is impactful to one student is different than what is impactful to another, right? And but at some point it also becomes personal preference too. And so we have to look at that. There are some things that I've always been really proud that our district was able to provide our supplies for students. That's a nice to do thing. You know, we're able to ask students to provide their own school supplies, and then have a fund for students that aren't able, and to fill in the gaps. So those are the kinds of conversations, and some of that deliberation between what's nice to do and what we need to do.
Thank you very much for that response. Ben, we come around to you.
Yeah, so I mean, like Betsy was saying, there's certain things we have to do, and of course we have to make sure that's there. But I think when we're talking about the budget and how to, you can look at the budget for this year, and you can look at the budget for the next 3 years, 10 years. Like you have to look more than just right now. So we've already taken some steps to try to make sure that we're engaging with the teachers. We're finding out more of what's creating a good culture in our school, because a huge portion of our budget is the staff. That is the majority of it. And if we can continue to have a great culture, and maybe we're not able to give out nice raises this year or next year because of budget constraints, but the culture is strong enough, people can survive through that. It's not pleasant for them financially, but you will find that people will stick around in a place that they enjoy, even if the pay maybe is not as competitive to other places. So it's got to be a balance act of making sure we get what we need, making sure we try to keep our really amazing staff that we have, because it does cost a lot more to replace them than to keep them. So taking those into considerations, and then pulling in everything that we're able to do. Some of our groups, their numbers are way down, so it's you have to ask if it's worth having those groups there. I know, like the dance team was one of the groups that was brought up last year is potentially being cut because they had really low participation, and I'm really excited that they didn't get cut last year, because they went on to state. I believe they placed 11th, and two of the dancers got state mentions. So it's an amazing thing for them, and I want to keep giving those things to everyone. We want to include everyone. We want to give everything, but at some point, if we don't have the finances, we do make those cuts, and you have to just it's always painful. You never want to do it, but you have to find where the smallest impact will be for the entire population.
Thank you very much. Kecia, you're up.
When it comes to distribution of limited funds, the same as everybody has said, we do have to look at our needs and our wants. Conversation with our community. We saw that with our most recent referendum, where we had a really extensive conversation with the community, informing on what we're doing, why we're trying to do it, what our needs were at the time. Everyone won't agree with it, and that's okay. But the communication, the conversation is what's important. I always think of our students first. In my mind, our students are always priority. So what are the needs of our students in our school? But at the same time, we also have to look at who in our community does it impact when it comes to the funding. Legal obligations, yes, that's important as well. We want to make sure that we are taking care of any obligations that are necessary and required within our schools. So that means there are some niceties that may have to, be deferred for different times, but not taking them away, not saying that we can't do them, but just looking at them maybe in the future. And of course, that long-term impact of our financing. Community outreach, that's another way that we can look at distribution of those limited funds. Again, in conversation, but also how can our community maybe support our schools? We don't get a lot of funding from the state. That's already known, that's given. So how can we as a community come together and combine? We may not be able to give multi-million dollars to our schools. However, is there a way that we can, maybe buffer? And we talked about like agriculture before. Maybe that is one of those areas that we can help, in that, in funding what we need for our students within the school. So, and then lastly, like Ben said, the overall culture of the school, we are a professional learning community. That's what we are. So just making sure that we're keeping that mindset when we're looking at the funding. I think for us being a professional learning community is very important for our students or for our staff to even understand, just like what Ben was saying, when we can't give those raises to our teachers and why. So also making sure that they're in the know on that as well. It just keeps our funds flowing as they should.
Thank you very much for your answer. Jenny, I'll toss it back over to you.
Yeah, I think we have time for one more question. So I'm going to scour that, our Q&A section to find that. But I also wanted to make sure we did a plug for voting in the primary on the 18th, which is Tuesday. Polls open at, is it 8 a.m. or 7 a.m.? Just say 8 a.m. And they close at 8 p.m. You can find more information on voting at myvotewiz.gov. You can also, I believe, register to vote there as well. So I want to make sure people understand how they can get the vote out. So last question before we close, because we said 90 minutes. It is super hard to pick the last question, but I'm going to go with what I think is important. I have brought 2 kids through the district, and it's been because of the teachers that they are as smart as they are. If you've met their dad and I, you would know we're not the sharpest tools in the shed. That's a joke. So how do we continue to retain highly qualified teachers in this rural location? And let's do Ben to start and then Betsy at the end.
So I kind of already touched on that a little bit, but it's culture. Really, we already have a very strong group of teachers in each of the buildings. And you'll find if you go and talk to the students, talk to the teachers, if you're in those buildings, you'll see a lot of camaraderie going on there and a lot of support across the staff. And that's something that we really want to continue to foster, to grow, and to improve. The more connected that people feel in their work environment, the more likely they are to stay. Also, I love it was a topic that was brought to us a while back, but you want the teachers to have their kids in the district too. If the teacher likes the district enough to put their own children through it, obviously it must be a good district, and there's a good reason why they're going to stand there. So trying to have, trying to promote and improve our culture and make sure that everyone enjoys being there is how we keep them engaged with us and have them teach our kids.
Move on to alphabetically Kecia.
I think it's important for us to highlight for any teacher that is thinking about coming into our school district or thinking about staying in our school district, for us to understand, number one, we are a professional learning community. I can't say that enough. I actually came through the school district as an educator when we were actually building our professional learning community. And it was just, I love the family connection. I say it all the time that the Platteville School District took me in as a family member, not just as an educator, not just as a teacher or a staff, but as a family. Anytime we walked around the schools, anytime we met up with anyone from any other school, we are a family. So that's exactly who we are. And I hope that all of our staff feel the same way. It's also good to highlight that we are a district for all. Some people don't realize that we have one early learning center, one elementary school, one high school, one middle school, and that's for everyone within our city and our townships as well. So it doesn't matter if the parent is a doctor, it doesn't matter if they're a custodian, it doesn't matter if they are one of our baristas at Badger Brothers, it does not matter. All of our schools go to the same district, so therefore we have the same educational set that comes that all of our students are going through as they go through all of the schools, which means that we have, we value all of the teachers that are within any of the schools, regardless of where they are. There is no divide between those connections that we have with our teachers. So that's what I love to highlight, and that's how I would want to retain.
Linda.
Sure. So when I was a manager, I should say, I don't think I said I retired in May, so I no longer work at the university. But one of the things that I worked with was Career and Professional Development Office. And there was a study that came over my desk, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't quote it, but it talked about why do people stay at the jobs that they stay at. And a lot of people will say money, money, money. And that was not the number one reason. The number one reason was feeling valued. And I think that that is crucial for us to know. Of course, money is important, and that is one way of showing value. But I think that if you think about creativity and remuneration, asking your staff what might help, what are some things that won't cost us anything that would give you a higher level of satisfaction in your work, talking with your employees, listening to be or communicating to be heard, to listen and understand. People stay where they feel valued. I think too that people stay where they feel they have a say. Making sure that people, if you have a question about, we're looking to change this, that you are engaging with your teams and talking with them so that they have a way of sharing their thoughts. I think that a lot of people make choices to stay places where they could make more money somewhere else. And that was said earlier. And I think that may be true of some of our staff. And it's why do people stay? Recognizing that people want to feel that value. They want to feel that what they say matters, et cetera. So that's what I would add about recruiting and retaining awesome staff.
And after that, we move to Betsy.
I think compensation, workload, and support are three of the biggest things, and our partnerships. We do a great job partnering with our high school education group, our college education faculty and students to help home grow teachers, right, that want to live and work in a rural community. I think that is huge. Platteville is one of the top compensators because we know that it's a big job, right? And we know that it's not just what you get paid for your job, but then it's also who you work for, right? We have not only top quality teachers, but we have top quality administrators in our district. You know, people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses a lot of times. And I like to think that we have some of the best because they do listen. They value the input, and we practice what we preach with that PLC community, professional learning community. Our faculty and staff have a tremendous say over how they improve doing their job, right? And how we actively grow our students. And I think that is huge in education. I know it's huge in my job, teaching adults. And so I know that it's huge in teaching our little people as well.
Thank you all. We've got about 10 minutes left. We promised 90 minutes. I think this was a really good platform. I think it was well run, in part to Sean having a stronger understanding of Zoom than I do. Any last words before we close out at 90 minutes? I don't know if we want to go alphabetically or just popcorn.
I would like to real quick interject because I had a couple of questions that were not for the candidates, but about the recording and dissemination of it. As I've kind of mulled it in my brain here, I do think that, for better or worse, Facebook is probably going to be the most public way we'll be able to share some sort of link. I will definitely have it on the Platteville discussions page where many of you are participants or have seen information about this. I also plan to make a public post that will be shareable. I would imagine Jenny would do similar. So if you haven't, feel free to friend me or take a look at my profile. It will be public, so you don't have to do that, and we'll be able to share it that way. I don't know in the 2 days we have left before voting on the first round that we'll be able to do much greater than that. There's not really a mailing list or a, whatever else for that. So just wanted to speak to that before we give the candidates a chance to kind of close this out. I also want to really thank Jenny for doing this. She did all the work. I literally am I'm the tech monkey. That's what I'm doing here. So I really greatly appreciate all the work you put in, Jenny, and I want to thank you for this. I agree that this has been wonderful. I have a much better understanding from these 4 candidates than I had beforehand, and that's the whole point.
All right, thank you. And we'll go to last words, Sean, before we disseminate. A little airbrushing, please. Thank you so much. Let's start at the top with Ben. Ben, any last words?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys for putting this on and inviting everyone to come. I'm glad that the people were able to participate. Thank you to everyone who came and took the time to listen to us. I know it's a Sunday morning, which is not always the easiest time for everyone to get together. And thanks for the questions. I like having this type of open discussion with people and being able to actually back and forth and hear other people's opinions and other people's thoughts. Because that helps us as a board, just in general, not me, but everyone in the board, approach everything with a more open mind and well-rounded view and make better decisions for the district. So again, thank you to everyone.
Alphabetically, we move to Kecia.
All right, I just want to say thank you, Jenny, and also thank you to Lydia for the graphic design that she did for the advertisement as well. Sean, thank you for all of your tech expertise here in Zoom. That is very important. I remember doing that as a virtual teacher. I also want to say thank you for the candidates that are here for your passion, your compassion for the school district as well. I wish us all good luck in these times. And thank you to all of the participants here as well for asking the questions, because yes, those questions are important to all of us. I can't speak for everyone else, but I may not have answered them as professionally as I should have, but I hope I answered them. I know I answered them as honest as I could, as I know I am. And thank you so much for being here and taking time out of your day.
Thank you. And then Linda, that's alphabetically to you.
Well, thank you. First of all, thanks for this forum. I appreciate and I love the engagement that there has been on Facebook and learning more about each of the candidates. I hope that this gave you a chance to learn a little bit more about me, since I'm the newbie in the group. I think what's important for you to know about me is that I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to serve, to give back to the community, to really be engaged in our public schools. I really enjoyed learning more about our incumbents, and I think that there's some great people who are running. And I just look forward to moving ahead in the process. And I hope that you'll consider me when you're thinking about who to vote for.
Thanks, Linda. And then Betsy, you're last.
Thank you to everyone who helped organize, and thank you to those who attended. Please know that if a question that you have did not get asked or answered, please feel free to reach out. A lot of people have said that they do not subscribe to local newspapers, or they want to have information and they don't know where to get it. Please ask, send an email, message me on social media. Connect with me. I am always open and willing to listen first and have a conversation, because it's through those direct conversations and relationships that we're able to continue to grow as a school district, as a community in Platteville. And so I welcome that conversation and connection. And remember to vote. And no, I ask that you vote for myself and these wonderful people here, but also know that serving as a member of the school board was very important to me, and a very impactful way to contribute is I will always advocate for Platteville schools, whether I'm on the board or not. I will always be an advocate for our kids and our families and our communities, whether I serve in a formal role or not. And so it's something that is very near and dear to my heart, and I hope to continue to do as long as I live in the Platteville community, which I have no intention of leaving. So you're stuck with me.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your participation. Thank you for coming. This has been wonderful, and I hope you all have a warm and safe rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks all. All right.
Thank
I'm going to
you.
end it.